What happens then when we refract this information through what we already know from our analysis of the title, headings, abstract and keywords? Our information starts to fill out this kind of picture. First, the title reminds us that the overarching concern is the question of whether or not human rights help or hinder environmental protection. The keywords point to central themes, and if we put little segments of the abstract next to the headings list with the title and keywords to guide our deductions, we get a fuller sense of how the author addresses each basic ordering idea signalled by the headings. So I'm now going to supply a list of the headings with segments of the abstract placed alongside them. You'll also see that I've generated comments and questions so that you can see how I'm analysing the information and the kinds of questions I'm going to be generating to have in mind as I read the article more closely later. These kind of questions also help to keep my brain awake, my critical faculties plugged in, and my curiosity energising my reading. I'm not going to be passive or switched off if I'm working in this way. Pause the recording at each step so that you get time to read and think. I'm going to assume that you've paused, and I'll carry on speaking later, very shortly, based on the assumption that you've read each of these titles, the abstract segment next to them, the comments and the questions. Take your time. You can also download a PDF of this from the links. Okay, so you're back. So hopefully you've just spent time, as requested, looking at the comments and questions generated by playing the abstract and the titles in a kind of relationship to each other. Not all abstracts and headings will be easy to do this with, but it is a useful technique, and in this particular article it seems to have worked quite well. So far we've analysed the main title, the abstract, the keywords and the main headings, and we've thought about the relationships between them and what those relationships might imply. That's all. We haven't read anything else yet, but we already have an incredibly useful first sweep, big picture grasp of the article, and we've generated a useful set of questions to keep us awake. Notice that we can see the A-level headings in direct relation to each other when we lay them out like this. Seeing them in relation to each other like this gives us a very rapid glimpse of how the flow of the work is set up to function. Here we move from hindrance to help to civil and political rights, which we can deduce is a key source of help, and onwards, knowing that social movements make use of human rights laws and arguments to actively pursue their agenda, and that human rights and environmental protection can and must function together, especially in the light of the threat of climate change. That is a massive amount of information gained in a rather short time. Yes, you do need to read the article more closely, but this hack has set you up for a real advantage. As a student, if you rocked up to a seminar with just these notes and thoughts based around your questions, you would almost certainly find that you had more of a grasp of the article than a student who began to read at the beginning and had no clear overall view of the hierarchy of basic ordering ideas. They might have spent half an hour struggling through the article, beginning at the beginning, and just reading it with no clear idea of what it was saying, while you might have spent, say, 5 to 10 minutes to grab the skeleton and to emerge with several useful questions and some pretty sharp ideas and observations to equip your understanding and further engagement. And of course, you won't stop there.